Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that relate to AI, China, investment, or my personal experience, or my book. So please feel free.
Hi, I'm Michael Lee. From the Data Incubator, we do data science training and education. I'm very interested in the degree to which the AI is still sort of a really hot topic in China today. Obviously, there was a lot of interest from the government in like 2017, but it seems like that may have backed off a little bit. I'm just curious what your view is.
You mean how heated up the industry is today? Yeah, we're in. So if you talk about well-established internet companies that use AI, they're still paying phenomenal money for great talent because given the amount of data they have, AI is something they can extract a lot of value from. Think about someone in Taobao, Tmall, JD, uh, uh, Toutiao, Didi, Meituan. They can't hire enough AI data scientists to maximize every process in their operations. Think about it. Each of these companies have at least 100 million daily active users. These are numbers unthinkable in the US. And by just tweaking something a little bit, they could make, 10 million, 20 million a day by doing things right. So there's an insatiable appetite for the internet giants to have more AI people. On the startup side, it's interestingly bifurcated into two groups: those who made it and those who haven't made it or have failed. So I made a prediction last year that the end of this year will mark the bubble bursting on AI valuation. And we're seeing that already. And why is that? Because a lot of the funding began after Keji's match. AlphaGo beat Keji decidedly. And that was when everyone wanted to do an AI company, even if they didn't have anything. So they would go hire a Google engineer, come up with an idea, and most VCs are very naive and they believe it. So we have a lot of fake AI companies. You guys have fake news. We have fake AI companies, and they got VC's money. And if they got it after Keji's match last March, the money usually lasts 18 months. So many of them are running out of money with nothing to show. Also, AI is fundamentally a B2B business, selling to enterprises. So it is not like a consumer company. You can quickly get to huge traffic or huge revenue. So many of them are disappointing their VCs. So as a result, we are seeing their companies' valuations drop down. The exception is the companies that seem to have made it are demanding a super premium at this time, because very, very few have made it. There are probably about a dozen unicorns in China, and we're at the investor in 5 of the dozen. And this dozen, I think, is very powerful. They've built critical mass. They have real business models. Some of them have revenues. The highest ones probably have about 100 million in revenues. And some of them have semiconductor technologies. Some of them are building autonomous vehicles that are maybe less than 2 years behind Waymo at this point. So the AI so if you look at the top startup companies, they're doing extremely well, and they have no trouble raising money. So it's kind of one of those environments. If you're one of the superstars, you have no trouble raising money. You're doing great. Everyone's chasing after you, wanting to give you more. If you're one of the fake AI companies, well, you're out of luck. By the end of the year, a number of them will go out of business. So I guess the short answer is it has cooled off a little bit from last year, but it's not a bursting of the bubble. It's just a very normal and healthy correction in the price. Yes.
Hi, Dr. Lee. I'm Rose Liang from Workday. I'm currently managing a couple machine learning related projects. And during my work experience, I noticed in this area, one tough issue is handling PI data privacy. We have to deal a lot with our compliance team in this area, especially with the GDPR launch this year. It becomes tougher and tougher. I want to get some your advice or experience in this area, and also, do you find there's a difference between US and China in handling this data privacy area?
Yeah, I think GDPR serves a very important purpose because it puts down on paper what the expectations are, and becoming compliant is something that's now understood. They may not be the right areas, they may not be enough. I worry that the society is often shifted by every bad incident that happens that demands more tightness. I don't think the ordinary people or media understand that by tightening things too much, the AI won't be able to function. Because if you really don't expose this, or this to the AI, then what's it going to have to work with? And yet, if you simply do focus group and ask people questions, well, they're going to be asking for all the privacy they want because they don't understand trading off the privacy and convenience is a game that has to be played so that you get enough privacy protected, but you get the benefits and convenience. So I think, having legal positions, they will happen in all countries. China has them. Europe developed them first, followed by US, probably followed by China. That's all good. I'm just worried, like most laws, if you ask people how much protection you want, they're going to want so much, and then that might make it so hard for the AI algorithms to work anymore. So I'm actually worried from that side.
My name is Richard Arnold. I'm a director and advisor to several high-growth tech companies that are investing heavily in AI and machine learning applications. I have 3 questions all about investment. The first is the wealth creation that is happening in China creating, through employee option programs or others, a cadre of wealthy tech entrepreneurs that may become the seed funders in an angel structure? Mm-hmm. Second, is there significant outbound investment from China into AI and machine learning technologies being developed elsewhere in the world? Mm-hmm. And third, and perhaps most importantly, to what degree are the established legacy corporations of scale, such as, I'm particularly interested in railroads, so CRRC, are they investing internally aggressively in AI and machine learning, or are they being laggards in this regard?
I'm sorry, CRRC?
The Chinese railroad equipment manufacturer.
Oh, I actually don't know the answer to that, so no idea.
But just large companies in general. Large tech.
Yeah, okay, I can comment on that. So first, the tycoons have come out already from the mobile dividend. All the mobile companies created a lot of tycoons. I think there were some angels that came out. Probably Alibaba millionaires are the most largest percentage of them became angel investors due to whatever reason. Hangzhou being a good place for e-commerce startups or something like that. But by and large, the phenomenon we see in the US where a successful exit pushes someone into either a more relaxed lifestyle or a life of giving back to help young people in the US, of the angel community being created that way, is generally not happening in China. For the primary reason is someone who took a company to $1 billion usually at this point has a dream of making a company for $10 billion. And when he does that, 100 billion. And then when it comes down to 10 billion, it's getting back to 100 billion. So I think this fight, this competitiveness, workaholic competitiveness, and winning at all costs and winning at the largest coliseum and beating out everybody is kind of a spirit in the Chinese entrepreneurism. So it's not like they don't want to help young people. They just feel like they're 35 or 45 and they want to, at least for the next 10 or 15 years, put their name on the Forbes whatever 500 or their company in the Forbes 500. So they've got these grand ambitions. On the investment by state-owned companies, I think they do here and there, but generally they don't have the best teams. So they do make an occasional investment, but they're not a major force to be reckoned with at this point. And then your second question was about outbound. Yeah. Yeah, I think the last 3 years has been a huge wave of outbound investments. There are a lot of people found, American companies to be valued low, and European even lower. So they came bargain hunting and trying to become early stage investors in the Valley and elsewhere in U.S. and worldwide. I think by and large, number one, most of the ones that came out are not such great professionals in picking winners. So secondly, they didn't break into the inner circles of the various regions. And thirdly, now there is CFIUS and other constraints that makes their continued investment probably not worth it, because given the declaration and other requirements by startups, many startups don't want Chinese money anymore. So I think we're beginning to see a withdrawal of Chinese capital in the US. They might go elsewhere. They might go to Israel, Singapore, Europe, and so on. But CFIUS, I think, is casting a pretty big shadow on this. I think in some sense that's a pity, because if we had the opportunity of doing investment in the US, taking our knowledge to bear, like I showed you those 8 $100 billion companies and how they were created, we understand how they happen. Some of that know-how can help an American entrepreneur create an equivalent company. Not a copycat, but just understanding the concepts and using them. But if we're going to be taken away our ability to invest in the US, then we won't have a way to use that know-how here, which is kind of a pity. But I think the writing's on the wall that the Chinese investments in the US will drop significantly, and that's the way it's going to be. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Fortes. I'm with Milk and Honey. So I had a couple of things. Firstly, I wanted to thank you for your work life, sharing that story. There's a lot of people who work the 996 or 12 or 8, 12, 7, right? So thank you for that, and it's a nice reminder. And I really loved how you closed your talk on the letting automation take over a lot of repetitive tasks and letting us redefine what it means to be human. That really struck with me, and so thank you for that. My two questions are around autonomous automated vehicles. You mentioned about trucking and how the Chinese are developing secondary highways around smart roads, and yet the trucking, union here kind of put the kibosh on a lot of the testing here in the U.S. I guess my question is how, I have two questions. The first one is, do you see us, what do you think the primary barriers besides them to overcome that, so that we can do more testing around getting around those kinds of unions? What do you see happening there, and what needs to happen there? And then there's this whole idea of making driving illegal by 2025. There's going to be things around that. People are talking about that earlier. I don't see that happening, but I would like for you to comment on that as well, and what your thoughts are around that.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you like the closing of my talk, but it's premised on us making it through the next 30 years, right? I mean, we will be able to celebrate no more routine jobs only if we manage the transition. And it's going to be a very tough transition with people coming off jobs, losing the income and the meaning of their life, namely work. So that's going to be a tough one, but I hope and think we can get there. On the autonomous vehicle side, I don't really know how to. I think the American political system is set up so that there is lobbying and voices of the electorate who will represent to their elected officials for support and protection. And I think the truckers union have a strong cause because hey, you do this, you're taking away our jobs. What is the counterbalance force that will present a different case to President Trump and say, no, you have to let this happen because then we will have X. So for those of you who have political activism and influence, think about who might make a counter argument. Because without the counter argument, 150 million jobs seems like a compelling reason to President Trump, especially almost all of them probably voted for him, to not disappoint them and lose their votes, right? So this seems like a little kink in the US political system that can only be solved by working within the system, by finding that advocate who says, no, we really need to have the autonomous trucks. This way we, whatever, fill in the blank, we'll stay ahead of China. This way we will create a new industry that is more efficient and that will bring down the cost of delivery. Or that we can find new jobs for the truckers who will do this or that. I mean, something has to be given, otherwise you're on the path of losing battle. I think that's my view. No more human driver by 2025. I think that's crazy. Well, think about how long it took before horses couldn't go on the road when automobiles came out, right? There are a lot of dumb laws. I think we should just get ready for dumb laws. When automobiles first came out, there was a red flag law that said, if you have an automobile and you're driving on the road, they're full of horses, you don't want to frighten any horses. So in the day, you have to have a person running in front of your car, waving a red flag so that horses know this machine is coming. In the evening, you have to wave a lantern. So this law was put into effect, and I think we should just get ready for a lot of dumb laws that will happen for autonomous vehicles also. But eventually, this will sort itself out. I do believe eventually we humans will be the largest hazard to our lives on the road, and people will be forbidden from driving, at least on highways, if not everywhere. And then for people who enjoy driving, there will be racetracks and things. Just like there are places you can ride horses, I think cars are going to be, humanly driven cars are going to become like horses one day. But if I had to guess, it's like 40 years or something, not 10.
Hi, Dr. Lee. I'm Yukun Zhang from ADB Financial, a Canadian bank. I have two questions. The first one is that people talk a lot about ethics and responsible AI. I'm wondering if there is any government level policies in China that is working on this, or are they taking action? Because you have mentioned there are so many companies that are developing tools. So I think it's very important. The second question is that how do you think the Chinese university, because you mentioned that China can't hire enough data scientists. So what do you think about their program? Are high quality talents graduate from university? How's the training? Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. I'll be honest, I think a lot of the topics in my book are heavily debated in the US. Such as, AI takes away jobs or they don't. Should we do UBI or not? What to do with security, privacy, ethics, data explainable. In China, they're not so much discussed. I think that doesn't mean they won't be. I think China just is running so feverishly over this AI opportunity. People haven't had time to stop and think. That will happen. Secondly, I think Chinese businessmen and entrepreneurs look to the government to regulate these, so they don't kind of view it as a consumer advocacy think tank kind of thing. They figure the government will figure something out and make a decision. And if you look at the key technologies the government has, the Chinese government's approach tends to be let technology run, and then if something doesn't look good, we'll put a stop to that or regulate it. And we can see this is how the China mobile payment happened. They didn't let the credit card companies come and lobby. They just said, look, I think paying on your phone seems like the right thing. Are there possible security issues? Maybe. Let's try it and see what happens. And then they tried it, and Alibaba and Tencent came up with ways to solve it, and now credit cards are dead. So I think China is more willing to let the horses run and see what happens. On the other hand, P2P lending, that's something they say, well, let's try it, see if it works. Of course, that one didn't end the same way, or there was problems. And then there were many other examples. I think the Chinese government, being one that can make decisions and execute them quickly, will tend to like launching a technology and see how it goes and stop it when it doesn't look right. Whereas I think the Western legal system will tend to want to debate an issue and make sure it's right, and when it comes out, it follows the rule of law. So that's the trade-off. So the ethics part, there's not been a lot of discussion. In my book, though, there are some interesting discussion about Chinese use of AI, one of which is how AI is used in the, by the judge. The judge actually uses AI for ensuring that the accused, the interrogation of the accused through video and camera matches the report that were put together. That's quite important to prevent, bribery and things like that, or police brutality. Another thing they put into work is a sentencing assistant. So by feeding all the data, they will make a recommendation about what the sentencing range should be. Then the judge, of course, gets to choose. And then another tool they have is the use of AI to look at all evidence in the case and automatically flag a contradiction. Like, they said they had an alibi, and they said they had this alibi, they had this, and the times this can't be all true. So it's kind of a logic assistant. So I think those are cases where it's kind of leading to hopefully better justice, and through tools, they're not replacing judges. So those are interesting stories. I urge you to look for stories like that, because China is rather adventurous to implement these, and so far I think they've worked pretty well. Your other question is about universities, and that I think is where China is way behind the U.S. As many of you have Asian faces, you probably came from Asia to study in the U.S. because schools are so good, and many of you chose to stay afterwards. And this is America's magic formula: attract the world's smartest people. A certain percentage of them come to the U.S. to study, and a certain percentage of them stay. So the current efforts regarding, limiting immigration and visa and annual renewals and after graduation, not allowing people to stay with entrepreneurial opportunities, I think that those are killing America's advantage. If you know how large the gap is between U.S. university and China, you'd be appalled at this kind of policy that's giving away U.S. advantage. The Chinese universities are, the top 2 are really good, Tsinghua and Beijing University. The top 10 are pretty good, but beneath them, they drop very, very, very quickly to, nothing even close to a top 200 university in the U.S. So the students in those schools are basically subject to figuring out on their own, going on Coursera, Udacity, and going on Kaggle, and also we fund an AI Challenger, we fund a DCamp, which is for training AI students, and I think they have to seek alternate means of learning AI because the school isn't going to be competent to provide that. It's a tough spot. On the other hand, AI has advanced enough in the last few years. Someone who's smart, who wants to self-study, can actually get somewhere. So that's the state in China. Okay.
Thank you. I just want to mention my undergrad university ranks 19th in China. So that's the one that you mentioned dropped a lot compared with the first 10, the top 10.
I'm afraid that's, I hope you agree. But you're here, so you've been saved.
Hi, I'm Katiana. I'm a journalist at The Register. My question is also about Chinese government and AI. Do you ever get concerned by how fast China is adopting AI? So I can see they're really quick to roll out things like facial recognition, and I can see where that's useful for things like checking into airports or ordering food. I've seen it as well. But do you ever get concerned about the dual uses, like it could be used for surveillance purposes by the Chinese government? And do you think people in China are worried about that as well?
Well, Technologies are used for surveillance in all countries, and face recognition is a prime technology that's usable for surveillance. Surveillance has a two-edged sword. It clearly reduces the likelihood of a terrorist or a criminal entering an airplane, which can be a great thing. It lowers the crime rate. But if the government chooses to use surveillance for not so good goals, that's also possible. It's kind of like asking someone who's creating software. That software can be used to do good things or bad things. Or someone who's making bullets. That bullets can be used to shoot the bad guys or the good guys. We feel we want to fund technology companies led by CEOs who will make smart business decisions, who have a high level of professional integrity, who will not want to do evil things. But at some point, you really can't control every application of every technology. So we do our best by picking the entrepreneurs. We don't invest in anything in weapons. We don't invest in anything. There are areas we just don't touch. We don't touch tobacco, alcohol, gambling, weapons, and things like that. But on the other hand, as a VC, sometimes we invest in a company. They're not in this, but later they pivot. There's not really a lot we can do. So I'm just describing the process we go through to minimize negative applications, but also that we're not all powerful to prevent that, because we are not the final decision maker on what the company does, and we don't know who technology will be sold to, and we can't be sure a company won't pivot. But the only thing we can do is when we make the investment, we do a lot of diligence and try to pick good people.
Do you think people in China are worried about like the negative consequences of AI, like surveillance?
So if you were to go to China and find 100 people on the street and ask them that question, I think the answer is they're not concerned. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't be concerned. There are also a lot of reasons they're not concerned. There could be they're getting a good trade-off because for the safety, it's okay to be watched. Maybe some are just not aware of it and feel kind of okay. Some may say, well, that's the way it is. There's nothing I can do, so it's okay. So there are many reasons for saying it's okay. But I can assure you, if you check with 100 people, you'll get more than 90 people who feel like it's okay. Okay. Again, I'm not judging that is the right thing or the proper numbers, but that is the number you will get.
Thanks. Hi, Dr. Lee. I'm from Clobotics, a Chinese AI startup just winning the Judge's Choice Award announced this morning. I think it's a good evidence showing that the AI in China is catching up because we are a Chinese company winning a reward in the US AI conference.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So my question is that since we are using the computer vision technologies to try to help the 2B customers in the traditional industries, like offline retail or wind power inspections industries, so what do you think the best way for us to encourage the customers to adapt the most recent, the most advanced technologies in deep learning? And also, what's the best way to show that we have the capability to help them maximize their efficiency and reduce their cost in a very short amount of time?
So what's a typical customer that would buy your product?
You know what kind of customers?
Yeah, you're trying to sell to
yeah, like the wind farm operators.
wind farm operator.
Yes.
Okay. And then they use it to reduce energy waste or something?
No, we are trying to help them to inspect the blade of the wind
Inspect the
turbines.
blade. I get
Yes.
it. I get it.
Yes.
Okay.
So what do you think the best way
Yeah.
for us to demonstrate ourselves, and what do you
Yeah.
think how things are different
Yeah.
in China versus in US?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think the U.S. business owners are way ahead in understanding technology and much more willing to spend on software. So that's an advantage. But if you find the right customer type, China is perfectly fine. I think there are a couple of suggestions. One is make it very clear to translate to to translate. Don't describe how fancy your technology is. That's a very small part. Just say you won the contest, and that's good enough. Okay, you were number one in the O'Reilly AI competition. That's good enough. Stop. Or your PhD. That's enough. The key thing is, what are you doing for me, right? So you need to flip into their shoes and say, I'm a wind energy operator, and cleaning costs me $1 million a year. This new solution is $500,000. Okay, so that kind of number is very compelling. You have to translate it to bottom line. What do you have? How do you make more money, and how do you save money? Translate it to those words. The second thing is figure out how to sell to them. You, as the PhD CEO, is a waste of your time, and you're probably not that good at selling to these people. So you need a super salesperson who can do it, who will decide what the messaging is, how to reach them, whether to use channels, not channels, marketing, not marketing. And that person is, I know a lot of PhDs think, I'll just hire a sales, but that's not right. You should let a salesperson be your partner and give him or her a decent percentage of your stock, and make sure they're the right people. Then sales will go through the roof. We've seen this through our PhD companies that build a platform and then say, how come nobody buys it? Well, why don't you participate in the bank's RFPs? No, they're all wrong. This RFP stuff, they don't know what they're doing. If I do that, it hurts their business. No, because banks buy through RFPs. You got to do what they do. The customer's always right, even when they're wrong. And I think that's the challenge of B2B selling. So I think you have to basically get down to their level, show the numbers that are compelling, not so much of a fancy technology, and maybe come up also with sales models where they have very little downside. For example, if we clean your blades, we'll guarantee it for a year, or we won't charge you until you see the results, or something like that, that makes it a no-brainer for them to try. And then when they pay, they know they're paying less than they do. So those are the key things you have to think. That is, you have to really take yourself outside the researcher body and enter the money question. Okay. And we'd be happy to talk to you. Chris and Mickey are from our team.
Yeah, we have some other guys here, so we can talk about.
Okay.
Just to add what Dr. Lee said, for internal sale, if you're in a big enough company, internal apply the same.
Oh, okay. Good point. Good point.
Hello. So through repeated conversations with friends, one that works at China Accelerator, and other folks I met at conferences from like Tencent, Taobao, there's been this repeated pattern that the growth, the opportunity, and the pace of innovation in China has just been, it's frankly mesmerizing and jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
And so they've repeatedly say, oh, you should come over here and come work here. And so they've planted this seed of curiosity where like, okay, possibly. But then I think about, one, there's a language barrier, then there's a culture barrier, and then there's a lot of different barriers that then seem to create this wall for myself and others who are thinking or exploring that possibility. Any advice or just frameworks to think about for those who possibly are considering working overseas in China? How do we really go about diffusing those barriers?
Yeah, so working in China, Chris is probably a good person to answer that. Do you want to answer it? Well, you've done it. Come on up. You answer this one.
So hi everybody, I'm Chris. I've been privileged to be working together with Kai-Fu for almost 9 years now. So I spent 7 years in Beijing. The reality is that for us foreigners, we always need to find something that we bring to the table in the Chinese everyday operational context that is necessary and that the market needs, or a particular company or a particular startup needs at that moment. And we also need to reinvent this every 6 to 12 months because it becomes very quickly redundant, because China is a giant sponge. Things that were behind are no longer behind, or very soon are no longer behind. But there is no better way. I don't think you can decide this remotely by being over here. I think what I did personally was I just decided that I'm going to put, a year or two of my life aside, stopping whatever I was doing before to actually expose myself to the market over there, and by being on location. And the only way that opportunities can arise, I was there for a couple of years, I think, before I met Kai-Fu for the first time and got the opportunity to join after Kai-Fu left Google China. The only way I think you can expose yourself to these opportunities by being in the market over there. So to the extent that you have the ability, and it is a privilege to actually stop your life and everything else that you are doing to expose yourself to the market, but you have to already think about what is it that I bring to the table. Am I a coder and I have technology skills? If you have deep technology skills, it's already a very big advantage. And language barrier is becoming slightly less of an issue because China does need deep technology talent. If you have some other skill or some other craft that you are very good at, you have to do some preparatory work to see who needs that and why. But there is no way you can decide or you can find an opportunity remotely from over here. Another way that people go there is through their multinational job. There are other people that have jobs in large corporations. They find an opportunity to do the safer way of getting into China, and then while they're over there, they're trying to transition to and localize themselves. So that's a different angle. So it really depends also on what kind of background. But in China, I think as a foreigner, you always need to find things that the market and the organizations over there need, and every 6 to 12 months you better reinvent that because it's no longer necessary.
Let me put some little advertising here. If any of you are engineers, senior engineer, architect / managers, or AI experts in implementation, Sinovation Ventures has a 200-person AI institute, and that is a great place for landing. We are by language, English, Chinese. We read a lot of papers, we implement a lot of things, we have a lot of data. That's the advantage of being in China. And then it's a great way to land and then figure out what you're going to do, whether it's a startup, join a large company, or maybe spin out from the AI Institute. So if any of you are in that situation, come and get a business card and send me a resume. It's in Beijing, where the pollution is a lot better. So how far do we have in this session?
We have 2 minutes left.
So okay, so one more question. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Quick. Yeah. My name is Li Bin Chen. I'm a data scientist. Yeah. And my passion is for automate machine learning, like the auto ML. Created by Microsoft and Google.
Right.
So I agree with you that is a B2B, AI is mainly B2B kind of the business. So what's your thought about, the new start company and want to focus on automate machine learning, this area, yeah.
I think that is the future. I think the fact that today, iOS and Android programming requires no expertise in fingerprint recognition or multi-touch sensing because essentially Apple packaged them up into modules and made them into auto use of my APIs. If someday machine learning could be packaged so that an engineer who has almost no knowledge of AI can use it, that is when the AI applications will go through the roof. Right? Many traditional companies have have IT engineers. If they could start to do AI, then really that's how AI becomes pervasive, not through consultants making a ton of money, but through a true pervasive use. So I'm a big believer in the technology. I think if you know something people don't, if you have some ideas that can automate, you don't have to do a generic solution that solves all auto ML. Just pick one domain, maybe one type of problem, maybe one type of algorithm. Maybe you do it for stock trading, or you do it for building quantitative models, or doing it for image recognition. Just pick one area, and then that could be a software that you could sell and make a lot of money, and also enable a lot of people and make AI more widespread. Having said that, one issue to be concerned about is this is clearly the kind of thing that Microsoft, Google, Amazon feel like it's their and only their job to do. So you're going to be racing against the giants, and that's why, again, I think picking a niche is a good idea. Let's say you do quantitative trading ML really, really, really well, but it doesn't work on anything else, then Google Cloud can keep putting out auto ML features, but they can't hurt you because you're very, very verticalized. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so last thing I want to say is that some of you got my name book plate, and what this is a signature that you can insert into my book that you will buy. So if you want one, we have time to personalize them anymore. I signed a big stack of them. I'll put it out in front with a description of the book and then the book plate. Please just help yourself to take them. Thank you.